Peace. What's going on, everybody? This is Poet Deep, and you're tuning in right now to From Poverty to Prosperity series. And usually this is done via podcast, but I'll be bringing it over to YouTube. So today's topic, which I think is very important, is balance. So the theme for today's topic is the balance of all things, and understanding that a lot of us can become very busy, highly distracted, frustrated, all over the place, especially if you have children. Your job might be demanding any obligations or duties that we may have, it can really hinder us from achieving balance in our lives. And sometimes it's to the extent that we do not believe that balance is even achievable. And I believe that if we take our time, balance is achievable just by simplifying things, and that's what From Poverty to Prosperity is all about, is trying to simplify simplify things that oftentimes can seem very complex, right? And the balance of all things. I looked at some of the most important things in a human's life, and that is health, finances, spirituality, community, and family. And I would just start with health as far as just balancing with health, because, health is, making sure that we're eating the right foods that are going to allow us to thrive. And I believe that many of us can tell based off of how we feel if our foods are contributing to us being in a healthy and peaceful state or one that is counterproductive. So I don't think it takes much, especially if, we're adults and we're paying attention to our patterns of eating over the years, to be able to determine what these foods are doing. Are they a help or are they a hindrance? So we also understand that it's not just about eating the right foods, but also it is about exercise, working out. And people have to find their own lane and path. And I also think today, with so much information at our fingertips, it also causes a distraction away from actually taking action. Because, when you have diets, it's like, you can be a vegan, and, it's so many different sectors. The keto diet, it's so much that people can do. And for some people who are not necessarily in the know, it could be very difficult for them to be able to determine, what works best. And I think we have to embrace it, that it's about the journey. It's not about your first choice being the right choice, but when you are in a stage of working towards being progressive, you accept that there are things that you don't know and there are things that you're going to learn. And some things that you were doing, you will stop doing to do something else. So it's not an overnight thing, it's not a one-shot fix. Even with exercising, if you're not in a daily habit or routine of exercising a lot, you're going to have to get into that routine. And at first, your exercising just might be just getting in the habit of exercising with no actual goal except for exercising itself. And then once you've created some type of motivation to exercise and things like that, then you start looking at, okay, I want to work on my stomach, I want to work on my arms, I want to work on my legs, or I want to build certain muscles in my back. Then you can start becoming very specific with your goals. But sometimes I think it's best it's just to get moving. It's just to take action, and in commission of taking action, you start to become specific after you have taken action within that a few times. Get yourself caught into the routine. And a lot of times the way how we live fast, the way how we move fast, living in a microwave society, it is very easy for diet and exercise, health, it's very easy for it to be neglected. And when you are fed by media that still does not places the emphasis on unhealthy eating, unhealthy patterns, that is actually an act of suicide when we are eating foods that are not helping our bodies to thrive. It's a slow suicide. But, there'll always be campaigns, by the media and by corporations, and I understand people have businesses and they're in business to make money, so we're bombarded with a lot of images and things to eat. And so for some people who are trying to work on changing, the paradigm in which they eat, their food selections and stuff like that, they're drawn in by what they see visually, and then their friends, the relationships and stuff that they have socially, they can get pulled back into this cycle of unhealthy eating. And I think that's also important too, is when you are looking to balance your life, you have to place yourself around people who have that same interest. And not only people that have that same interest, but they are executing things to show that. Because I believe many of us have very good intentions. I believe many of us want to do great things. But the difference between the people that want to do it and the people who does it is execution. So we have to always we have to always remember that. And we want to align ourselves with executors if we want to execute. Because many times, and I hear it a lot, like New Year's resolutions and things like that, it's like a lot of people want to make resolutions at the New Year. And sometimes what people do not look at, they look at what they want, but they do not look at the tests and the obstacles that they must go through, the discipline that they must have, the self-restraint, the sacrifice in order to obtain that which they want. And we just have to be mindful about that. But diet and exercise, it cannot be neglected, because when you are setting yourself up for a goal, when you have a mission to carry on a legacy, whether it's for your family, for your community, and different things like that, you have to think about your physical well-being. Because when they say mind, body, and a spirit, those things are very sacred, and it's very true. They're all connected. There's none that are disconnected from the other. So we just must be mindful of that at all times. So even if we have to start off slow, give ourselves time to be able to get into a rhythm, that's okay. Because I think sometimes people see other people that's in the wellness, fitness, and different things like that, and they see people that seems like they're so far with it that it makes other people not want to involve themselves. Like, I have a Planet Fitness membership, and one thing I like about Planet Fitness is what they use as a marketing scheme is the no judgment zone. And so this was dealing with people who are basically out of shape, overweight, frustrated, and you come into the gym, and you're so self-conscious, especially when you're around people who move better than you, they exercise better than you, and it seems like they've been doing it longer than you. It can be like a point of embarrassment, and that does keep some people away from engaging in it. And so with the no judgment or judgment-free zone that they have at Planet Fitness, I see, from me being there, that there are a lot of overweight people that are there, and they're working on bringing that weight down, and I totally salute them and send my respect. So health, as far as balance of all things, health is very critical. It is very, very important. Finances. A lot of decisions that we make in life will be dictated by our finances, and if we are not in a situation whereas we have what I think most of us should all be striving for in some shape, form, or fashion is financial independence, financial freedom. And it's not necessarily that everybody has to go out and run a company. I understand everybody is not meant to be an entrepreneur, but I do advocate that people learn how to be investors in something. Especially some people like their jobs. They want to be on their 9 to 5. They're looking for retirement and things like that. It's nothing wrong with that. But I think something is wrong with that picture if you're not looking into investing financially into yourself so that you're able to get a return, a ROI, a return on your investment. And I mean, if you are going to be in the workforce, putting in all of those different years and things like that is, making sure, that you have, your 401k, your IRA and things like that. And not only having just that, but making sure that you put your money to work in other means, whatever works best for you, so that that you are always prepared for a rainy day. You're prepared for if the economy takes a turn, if you're going to be needing medications and things like that. Medications go up, the cost of living go up. So you're going to need to be able to address those situations without it being an added stress. And one thing that I find is the more that I am learning more about finances and things like that, it's not about the money a lot of times that we're making. It is the choices that we are making with what we have rather than what we have. Yes, there are a lot of people who do not have necessarily a lot of money to address the conditions that life are throwing at them, and yes, there are jobs that are overworking people and underpaying them. These things do exist. However, we can strategize around that to financially develop ourselves. So in order for us to have financial freedom, first we must have financial literacy. And I'm very early in my journey of financial literacy. I've always been good at saving. I've always been good at budgeting. When I had the money to save, I was very good at saving. I was very good at budgeting. But however, financial literacy is deeper than that. It's about knowing how to be able to invest, the different ways to invest. And so, I'm doing a lot of research. I actually just ordered a book probably about 20 minutes ago by Vicki Robin. The name of the book is Your Money or Your Life. And I believe it's co-authored with Joseph Dominguez. So I'm going off of the top of my head, but I just purchased that book from the great reviews that I've heard by a podcast that I listen to, which is Journey to Launch, which you can find on YouTube. You can actually search up that sister, Journey to Launch. She also has a podcast. She's on multiple platforms, but for the sake of convenience, you can look up that channel, A Journey to Launch. I think that is a very, very great podcast to listen to. And another thing that we have to look at is that we're only a little bit of information away and execution of really living what they call our best life, whatever your best life is. So for people who are looking to be more financially fit, being able to get out of debt and things like that, it's about how we spend our time. I'm not saying everybody has a smartphone, but most of us do have a smartphone. And, there's an app called Podbean. You have different apps that you can put on your phone, And so we need to be putting material content into our system that's going to keep feeding us and preparing us for what we want, what we desire, what we wish to achieve. We have to keep feeding that. So the finances is making investments, having an emergency fund. So when all things, things go astray, job loss, unexpected death in the family, anything that's really important that could really make your living situation unstable if you did not have that money. You want to work on building that emergency fund. You know what I'm saying? Different people have different timelines, bare minimum 3 months. A good way to go is 6 months of your total monthly expenses. But besides just your emergency fund, having savings accounts with having savings with a specific purpose of what you're saving for, but also investing and finding a way to be able to get your hand on income producing assets. So we're in the age of information. And I know a lot of times we can all get distracted with YouTube and all these different things, but they're actually great tools if properly used. So finances, we're just a little bit of information away that can really change our lives around about how we deal with money. And if you're in debt, deep debt, don't worry. There have been many that have been in deep debt, and they had to change their mindset and their practices of how they deal with their money, their relationship towards money, to be able to, get out of debt and to be able to invest into themselves, right? Family. Family is very important because family is our foundation. Family is a pillar, and it's a lot of work and maintenance when you're working with a family, because you are working and forging ties with other human beings who have their own mindset and things like that. And it's always work to keep a family tight knit, to keep a family with a soul mission, whereas though all of us are individuals, but how do we contribute as a collective to the family? And as we build strong families, we want to build families with similar values, meaning we can all have our differences, but there are certain things that are within this family that we all value alike. And due to these values will ensure that this family is able to survive. And not only the family is able to survive, but to thrive. A lot of us are surviving, but many of us are not thriving. And we want to be in a position of thriving. And so thriving comes from learning how to balance out our lives, balance out the different things that we have going on, learn how to sort these things out, getting the necessary help that we need to be able to have. And I understand within families there are many different complexities. There are many different family arrangements. It could be, your family could be just you and your siblings. A lot of your family is spread out in different states. Then you can have a lot of families that's located nearby, but everybody in the family kind of is living their own individual life. And we have to get stronger with that, because a lot of us are we're chasing money, we're working these jobs, we have dreams, we're very dream oriented and things like that. And everybody is trying to build on those things. And a lot of times we do not always find time for that family to be nurtured while we're out here goal chasing and things like that. And I would hope that within our family values, we can find something similar all to chase upon. So it's like we all have a collective grind that we get on for the family. And I understand as well is that you cannot have bonds and relationships with everybody just simply because there's your blood relative. I understand that a lot of us have some very deep dysfunction in our families. I understand that there have been a lot of injustices that have not been corrected, a lot of foul things that could have happened in families. And if you're in that situation, some people have had to create another family, and that is fine too, because you want to go somewhere that you're loved, you want to go somewhere that you're appreciated, supported. But not only that, but people that's going to tell you the truth, people that's going to work towards making you better. That's what your family is. Because everybody's blood relatives do not give them that. Then some of us have relationships with the blood relatives, whereas everybody don't have similar values, but they can kind of appreciate your spirit. They can appreciate you. So if there's something that we can work on a tiniest level with our families, let's work on that and let's continue to build that, because that's part of our identity. That's part of who we are. It's like the family is like the tree, and as individuals, we're the branches. So we want to make sure that we always pay homage to that, to which that we come from. Spirituality sets the basis for who we are as individuals, and not only how we deal with ourselves, but the way in which how we deal and how we see the world. So different people have different ways in which how they tend to their spirits. So I have my way, your way could be totally different. Some people might follow certain spiritual systems. Some people might follow religious systems. Whatever allows a person to align themselves with their inner spiritual voice, to be able to hear the creator, the universe, and to be able to tap into that and to be able to develop themselves is a very great thing. So with that being said, we want to take time out for the spirituality. And the spiritual battle is something that can become intense because a lot of us, we need cleansing. We need cleansing. There are a lot of things that we have picked up, a lot of thoughts and a lot of behaviors that we have adopted and things that we have adapted to by living in this world, by living around so many poisonous situations. And sometimes it is very difficult or nearly impossible to live in poison and not become poisoned yourself. So we must always make sure that we're decontaminating ourselves. And what I mean by decontaminating ourselves is giving ourselves time to cleanse, understanding that we're not perfect and that we're not meant to be perfect. But we are involved and engaged in a process that can continue to develop us, fix us. And a lot of times, these are not just things that we can just do ourselves. Sometimes we need guidance. We need leadership. Different people have different requirements. And that's another thing as far as spirituality is understanding is, what do you require as a spiritual being on this plane we call Earth? What are your spiritual requirements? Are you the type of person that need to listen to music, in the morning before you get your day started? Do you need to be able to read here and there? Do you need to talk to certain people who you love to keep you going? Like understanding your spiritual requirements and being able to build relationships with people who can understand, respect, and accept your spiritual requirements. But first, you have to do that. And because the balance, not the balance, but the whole point is for us is to be in balance and be at peace with life in the universe. That is the ultimate goal. And if we're not constantly checking our spirit, if we have no yardstick to measure what's going on with our spirit to be able to listen to our inner selves, then we cannot properly develop who we are. And sometimes we don't even understand the potential of who we could develop to who we are because of what's currently in us. And without that decontaminating process, without feeding our spirit and things like that, and doing things that help add more value to us, then it becomes a situation whereas we become stagnant in our growth and things like that, So that's spirituality, our personal journey. Last is community, and community is very important as far as a balance in all things. Is how do we contribute and be a blessing to others? Being a blessing to others can come in many different forms. It's not always in giving someone something physically. It could be providing a thought that could make someone stop from doing something that was harmful to themselves or others. It could be a good word that makes somebody feel good, radiating their spirit that encourages them or moves them to move another spirit and things like that, And sometimes it could be, physical gifts. It doesn't have to be expensive. But community, we do not live in this world just among ourselves. We live in a world with many other different people. And though trying to be as peaceful as possible is knowing how to behave and not only knowing how to live in this codependent arrangement, because life is a codependent arrangement. Regardless of how independent we really think that we are, it is very codependent. Everything about life is codependent. Nobody does anything by themselves. So even when you look at, you got to work, who paved the streets? There had to be somebody or people that was out there paving the streets in order for you to be able to drive your vehicle on the roadway. It had to be somebody that took time to design and build that vehicle that you got in, or that transportation vehicle, whether it's a bus, train, plane, whatever that is. This is a communal arrangement. Even if we don't even agree, like, or share the same views with people, we are all codependent in some way. And we have to learn how to be in balance in the community of life with others. Even for people, like I say, who do not share the same political, cultural, and social views or even values. There's a delicate balance to that. However, we must always be looking to how to achieve that balance. So I think, trying to understand what it means to work with other people, teamwork, and things like that, to the best way that we can. Because sometimes the way how we want to contribute is not the way in which our people receive or will receive or ready to receive. But we learn through continuously working on our spirit, because, your mind is not separated from your spirit. So the things that we think. So going back to the drawing board about how could we did this better? What happened with this last situation? How could have I executed this differently and things like that? Or taking inventory and assessing other people and what they have to say. Because you want to, and that's another thing, you want to have a good community of people around you who provide you authentic critique about yourself. This will all help with everything all above, with your spirit and things like that. This is how we are able to grow. This is how we're able truly to grow, with having that community. And so we have to learn how to build our support community with those that we love, those that we have personal and intimate relationships with. But we also have to learn how to build with the community that exists just by way that we're all living on this physical plane. Because you've had many situations in life, whereas you have people, let's say for instance, you get on a cruise, and let's say, ancestors forbid, let's just say for instance, a fire happens on the cruise and it has the potential to affect many lives. People are not going to be building based on teams on who they like and who they love. If it's affecting people, period, you're going to see people will start to engage and get involved just on the basis that there's a situation that could perhaps get out of hand and affect other people. So in order for people to feel like their family can navigate safely, they're going to engage and they're going to put themselves in harm's way to protect people for the sake of their family, which can also protect you and your family. And that's just how this codependent arrangement just work in life. So we don't want to be codependent on people emotionally, but in a social, healthy sort of way of allowing us to be able to coexist, to do whatever we need to do, help who we need to help. Let's think about how to give our contributions and on what levels. I appreciate anybody who tuned into this. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Down below in the link, I'm also going to I'm gonna add the journey to launch link for Instagram. I'm gonna add that link for the sister for Instagram, and maybe she can come on here and she can comment and provide additional links for the finances journey to launch. Also, I'll be posting my music link on here as well. I'm working on some new music right now. I don't know when I'm going to release what I'm doing right now, but I'm just releasing music. Feeling good that I'm getting back into being more productive again. Health is feeling better, so I'm just embracing that. So with that being said, I'll be talking to you soon. Please subscribe. Please share. Y'all have a good one. Peace.